You're lucky if you can find some of those ingredients.
I know.
Wonderful.
That's my daughter.
This is how old now?
20.
That's ours.
That's yours?
Well, my mom's, yeah.
Who's that?
That's my grandma.
Oh, we're just women running the family.
Oh, we want to take a picture, yeah.
Okay, big smile now. You look marvelous. Look. James, James, James. James, this way. Here you go.
Deacon Mike Penich is going to be doing our prayers, and he needs to hurry and get back to church to do a baptism.
If we could put ourselves in the presence of the God who loves us so very, very much, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Father, we come to you today in thanksgiving. We thank you, Lord, for all the memories that we're sharing today, all the memories of a building that was on 10th and McAllister 100 years ago. We thank you for the Bellina courts. We thank you for the weddings that were there, the bridal showers, the baby showers, funeral luncheons. Yeah, so many memories, Lord. We thank you for that. We thank you for the fact that because of that building, we have spread out to so many different places and spread your love. And we also thank you, Lord, for the fact that that building is still standing and still serving people in Waukegan, North Chicago in a different way for your honor and for your glory. We ask you, Lord, to bless the food we're about to eat. We ask you to bless those who have prepared it. We ask you to bless everybody that's in this room today, Lord. We ask all this in the name of Jesus Christ, who is our Lord and our brother. Amen. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Good. So, how's retirement? Busy. German.
So we're done. Look around and see all the round heads. Isn't this wonderful? So how did we get here? Dennis Mipshek came to the Midwest Veterans Closet, and he and I were talking about Slovenic Hall is 100 years old today. And he said, we need to do something. And on cue, Mary Lou Stefanik walked in, and she said, oh yeah, we need to do something. And then Janelle came in, Albina, Chandra, and so here we are. And we hope that you all will have a wonderful time. It looks like you already are. We're talking about having another celebration next year. And so we will need you to fill out the form that's on the table. If you are interested in knowing about future events, please fill that form out and we'll come around and pick it up. So with that, I give you that.
Well, actually, Mary Harmony came up with the idea, and hope everybody's going to have a good time. I know everybody wants to talk to everybody about the old days, and it's good because that's what we're here for. I remember as a kid, I used to run up and down the halls, and that's what I remember. Which way we go?
And we have Dick Charmanek, and if you would come up please, Dick. We wanted to do this before the meal got started because we love this country. We have been so blessed to be immigrants and come to. So Dick is going to lead us with the pledge and then we'll resume meeting. Thank you, Dick.
Everybody, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. Let's chow down and have a great time.
Today I'd like to make an announcement. On this very auspicious occasion, we have a celebration of a 40th wedding anniversary, Tom and Terry Ivanhoe.
Thank you very much.
He's in charge of a division at the sheriff's office.
Okay, this four here? Okay. Got all four of us.
Your attention, please. Just real quick. If you're enjoying your meal today, we hope you are. Just want to let you know this is not a typical Sunday Bonnie Brook meal. What we did was the committee got together and we found a cookbook that was put out by the formerly Slovenian Women's Union, now the Slovenian Union of America. We met with Marilyn from Bonnie Brook and said, you know, do you think we could duplicate some of these recipes? And they were really excited, and it really worked out well. The chicken recipe actually came from the Slovenian American Times. That recipe was recently in their newspaper. The Slovenian sausage actually was made by Cribs right here in Waukegan. So what happened was a friend of mine from Indianapolis, he had put the his Slovenian sausage recipe in the KSKJ newspaper back in January, and so I asked him if we could borrow it, and he said no, absolutely. You know, if you want to use it, go ahead. And Mary took it to Cribs, and he said I would have made Slovenian sausage sooner. We just never had a recipe. So now I believe Cribs is going to start selling Slovenian sausage. So, of course, they don't have any. They don't have access to a smokehouse, but the fresh sausage that we're having today, they'll be able to make for us or make for you. So that'll be a good plug for their business as well. So I hope you enjoy your lunch today, and we'll be up talking a little bit more a little later. Thank you.
Cake.
All right. Thank you.
Happy 100 years.
Yes, because that's his daughter. Yeah.
What's today?
My birthday,
And how old?
78.
Thank you.
All right?
Okay.
Hey, Patsy, where are you going?
Okay.
Is she in line?
In the pink, yeah.
On the way out. I'll find out where she's sitting.
Father Asby. Asby was a young looking guy. Her father Asby.
Yeah.
We have some special recognition we'd like to do today. We received a thank you from Congressman Brad Schneider, from Slovenian Senator Terry Link, from the City of North Chicago, from the Mayor's Office, Mayor Leon Waukegan. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Mary Lou Stefanik, and I'm on the KSKJ Life Board of Directors. And we also received recognition from KSKJ Life. And lastly, we received from the Lake County Board recognition on behalf of today's special anniversary. Okay, and one more important one, and I'm going to have our Waukegan City Clerk, who also happens to be a Slovenian, Janet Kilkelly, and she is going to present us with the recognition.
Resolution, the Slovenian National Home celebrates 100 years. Whereas Slovenian immigrants began moving to Waukegan to seek a new life and opportunity in the 1890s and found employment at some of Washington's earliest industries, such as the United States Sugar Refinery and the Washburn and Moen wire mill. And whereas these early settlers played a pivotal role in producing the raw materials necessary for westward expansion of the United States. And in 1895, Waukegan's Washburn and Moen plant produced over 100,000 tons of barbed wire. In particular, a brand invented at the plant called Waukegan Barb. And whereas Washburn and Moen bought and subdivided unincorporated land west of the mill for an employee subdivision called the Waukegan Highlands, this subdivision would subsequently become the city of North Chicago. And whereas Waukegan's industrial boom also brought a population boom, and the county's community's population continued to grow due to an overall influx of immigrants from various Eastern European countries to our area. And whereas in 1913, Slovenian immigrants decided that they needed a center for their activities in Waukegan with access to a large meeting hall for the wider Slovenian community. And fundraising began by selling shares for $25 with raffles, dances, bazaars, and soliciting door to door. And whereas 4 years later, construction on the building began when the cornerstone of Slovenic Hall at 424 10th Street was laid on November 3rd, 1917, just a few blocks away from American Steel and Wire Mill, with completion and grand opening in November 1918. Now therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Cunningham and members of the City Council of Waukegan, Illinois, do hereby celebrate the many achievements of Waukegan's Slovenian community on their 100th anniversary. And be it further resolved that a suitably embossed copy of this resolution, signed by the Mayor and City Clerk, be presented at the Slovenian Sunday meal on Sunday, October 21st, and then read into the public record at the City Council meeting on the 5th day of November, 2018. Thank you.
A lot of people added to the festivities today, so we'd like to ask the people that volunteered and donated pizzas to please stand up and be recognized. What a huge success that was. The team back there, Mary's here, so thank you. Aunt Winnie's cookies, they couldn't be here today, but she donated 4 pizzas. Mary donated pizzas, and she made an apple strudel. And Francine, I don't want to leave anybody else. Who else? Leave anybody out? Okay, I'm sorry, what's the name? Gee, my old teacher, Mrs. Perpich. I know she's not Mrs. Perpich anymore, but you know, I can't break that habit. So, thank you. Okay, I know you've heard from a few of us today, but really, I really want to recognize the committee because none of this would have been possible without different people pitching in. It takes a lot of people to put something like this on, and you know, they were selfless in this. So, our leader, Mary Carmody. I don't know for anybody that knows Mary, she has nothing but free time on her hands. So, you know, for her to do this, just, you know, no, this lady is nonstop giving to the community, to the veterans, and now today, you know, to the Slovenian community. So, thank you so much, Mary, for everything you do. My childhood friend here, Janelle Cockett-Nagy. Thank you for everything you did. Chandra Sefton. Okay, just met Chandra, but she's been big help to work on this with us. Thank you. Dennis Smithshek. Great. Good help. You got a lot of information from the Historical Society for us. And last but not least, the president of the Slovenic Club, Albina Opika. Thank you. You know, Janet Kilkelly talked briefly about the city of Waukegan, how they recognized the Slovenic Club for, 100 years ago, recognizing that, you know, we needed a place for the Slovenians to meet. And so 100 years ago, the Slovenic Hall was started as a means to have a facility that would house Slovenians events and things like that. And 100 years later, we're still here. And I'm representing KSKJ today, and KSKJ is very similar. We were started 125 years ago as an organization that was created to help Slovenian immigrants, widows and children. And in 1904 and slightly before that, a couple of Slovenian KSKJ lodges were still formed in Waukegan, and they're still going strong today. Now, I know some of you, the Slovenian roots are important to you. Some of you are KSKJ members, and we appreciate that. But in order to keep the Slovenian heritage and the culture and things going, it's events like this, and it's clubs like KSKJ, not clubs, but organizations like KSKJ, SNPJ, the Slovenian, not Women's Union, Union of America. Those things are all important to our future too. Slovenian American Times, a newspaper out of Cleveland. So those are all wonderful avenues for us. If you have a chance, if you haven't already done so, I know a lot of you know who KSKJ is. There's some brochures on the table. There's information. So if you'd like to know a little bit more about KSKJ, it's on the table. If you need to change some of your information, you can use one of the forms on the table. And it's just a way of keeping the Slovenian pride going and saying, I believe in that organization. I believe in the Slovenic, what you guys are doing here today, and keeping the Slovenian heritage going forever and ever. Okay, thank you so much.
So we have a videographer here today, Tony Farella. Some of you may know him from Cassis Bakery in North Chicago. That was his family bakery. So we are looking for stories because we wish we knew more about these people. And so hopefully 100 years from now, when they have another centennial or bicentennial, they'll have our stories. So I'm going to lead this off by saying that my first memory of Slovenic Hall was terrible because our dentist was there, Dr. Woods, and it sucked to go there. Another memory I have is of TikTok, and Jan Sables Keller is here. Stand up, Jan. So we hope that she'll tell a story, but my story is this. We used to get penny candy there, sometimes 2 and 3 for a penny. So Margie Grampovnik, my best friend since we were 3 years old, decided that we were pretty darn smart when we were 8, 9 years old. So we would take the nickel out of our church envelope and we would go to TikTok and we had it all. So guess what? Father Healy came to our houses and he asked our parents why Margie and Mary haven't been going to church. And they said, of course they go to church. They go every day before school. Remember that? We went every day to church. And they go on Sunday. And he said, we haven't been getting their envelope. Well, we got a butt beat for that. But TikTok got our envelope. So we hope that all of you will come and tell a story. Janelle's next.
Well, when I think about Slovenic Hall, I think about all the weddings there, and as a little girl running around between all the polka dancers and being hot and sweaty, going there sometimes and not knowing anybody, and by the time I left I was crying because I didn't want to leave my new best friends that I just met at the wedding. And it was always fun to explore the bowels of Slovenic Hall, going down those hallways and all those mysterious places on the stage behind those big heavy curtains. And it was just always a good time to be there. And then of course there was Belina and the big Belina tournaments, and Dennis, the Mivsheks would live next door to us, and we always had great fun together. And my mom, of course, was a big Belina player, and she would have loved to have been here with all of us today. So I know she's looking down and enjoying this event. But Slovenic Hall means a lot to all of us who are here, and I just want to thank everybody for coming, and your presence is so important And we just appreciate and love you. So thank you.
I just want to say that I started going to Slovenic Hall when I was about 6 years old. My father played bocce ball there, and my mother used to sit and she'd talk to Mrs. Kozina and all the women there. I was in the SMPJ, which is Slovenska Narodna Prepodna Jednota, and we used to get the Prosvjeta, the newspaper, at our house. And Christine Streeter started, it was called the Juvenile Circle. Of course, when I think of juvenile, I think of juvenile delinquency. It was Juvenile Circle. Christine actually taught us to play spin the bottle. And so we would, of course, Frank Farella was there, and my sister, and the Nagodi girls, and anyway, there were so many of us, and so that was my first introduction to getting a kiss from a boy. My first boyfriend was actually Frank Streeter, and I also, we used to put on programs, and I wore the Slovenian costumes, and we did an exchange where we went to Chicago to perform, and the Chicago group came to Waukegan to perform. And I still remember this joke that Eddie Udovich told us. It was, I saw a bird fly through the sky. He dropped some whitewash in my eye. I'm not sad. I don't cry. I'm just glad that cows can't fly. And also, there were polka dances almost every Friday and Saturday night. And Stan Bregren's band used to play. And Joe Sable's band used to play. And I also worked at the TikTok for Mary and Joe Sable's when I was in, I think it was 8th grade, might have been 7th and 8th grade. And when they went bowling, I was in charge of Roger and Janice also. I used to walk home by myself, and it was dark out. I'd be walking down McAllister Street. It was kind of scary way back then. But also, I don't know if any of you remember, they used to have the Mushkaret. That was the masquerade party, and that was almost every New Year's Eve, and they always had a New Year's Eve baby at midnight. And we put on programs. One year we put on an opera. I don't know if you remember the Peckleys, but Dick Peckley used to sing. And Mamie Laban and I did a number called Dishes in the Sink. She was the mother and I was the daughter. And we had to go downtown to Mrs. Votruba's to have a few tap dance lessons. So we tap danced and we sang Dishes in the Sink. Albina, this is the lady I used to play bocce ball with. And she still shows up. Take a sip of water. I don't know if you know that they had a marching band, and it was the men from Slovenic and from Mother of God, and they went to meet the bishop. They were going to have confirmation at Mother of God, and the marching band went to North Chicago to pick up the bishop, and the bishop ended up in Waukegan. So they had to march back to Mother of God, and the bishop was coming in from Waukegan. And I do have the hat that my dad wore in that marching band, and it's on display here on the table.
That's sweet. That's sweet. Thank you. Wow.
Who's next? TikTok?
Mother used to do hair at the same time you bought candy.
First of all, I want just to be telling you how blessed we should all feel being here today, and I thank those wonderful gals that have put so much time and effort into putting this together. I'm not quite a speaker. I wish I could dance my words out because I'm still teaching, taking it back to Slovenic Hall where Edith Tooze and God rest her soul had taught dance, and then I was eventually able to teach as an assistant, and God's been so good to me. I'm still teaching, so if anybody wants to work on some tap, we can still do that, but thank you. I just have to tell you, it was so fun hearing your little message about the times you've gone, and you're right, the best I can say is Dorothy, right there in the beautiful blue jacket. Julie, thanks for saying something. I know my mother and dad are watching over all of us too. Mary and Joe Sables and my grandparents who were the Putins, and some of you I know I haven't really had a chance to talk to, but I see all those beautiful names. Joanne, so many wonderful people, names that were right around the TikTok and all the way through in North Chicago. So thank you so much for giving me the chance to say thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you.
How about Dee? You guys raise your hand, don't be shy.
Hi, I'm not Dee. Dee is my sister here. We were the Slovenics. I don't know if anybody remembers us from McAllister Street. We grew up at Slovenic Hall. We were right across the street from them, and I mean, we did everything over there. I don't know how many of you took dancing lessons from Miss Toos? Yeah. I mean, talk about having all the advantages there at Slovenic Hall and playing Bolina. Someone mentioned that. We're very proud of the fact that my grandfather, Frank Svetnik, was one of the first to put money down, and we have the first share. My sister has it framed, and she brought it here for you to see. She has it hanging in her house, but we're very proud of that he bought the first share of Slovenic Hall. And my mom and dad were very big at any kind of function there. We were part of it. As kids growing up, we were dressed in the costumes all the time. We served for weddings at Slovenic Hall. The polka dances. I remember someone mentioned about being a kid, Janelle, running around on the polka floor. To this day, I hear polka music and it brings me right back there. I mean, I don't care how tired I am, I want to dance, hearing the polka music. Slovenic Hall is just part of our heritage. And I'm so proud to be here and to be amongst all of you and see a lot of the friendly faces and familiar faces. And also, it was kind of bittersweet, but I think my wedding in 1982 was like the last big bash my family had there. But yeah, so I don't know what else to say except I'm glad you're all here.
I remember Mrs. Perfect as a teacher when I was just a little kid, and all the boys had a crush on her.
You think so? All the boys, when they meet me after all these years, they always think that I remember all the bad things they did, but I never remember anything bad. I remember all the good things.
When I'm waving my hands like a teacher, right? Anyway, what I was saying was that especially the boys, the girls were always good, but the boys sometimes were naughty, but I don't remember any of that. When they look at me sort of sheepishly, like I remember bad things, I tell them, no, I only remember all the good things you ever did in school, all the happy memories. And one of my memories of Slovenic was, as Aileen mentioned, when we served, when we were young teenagers, and we served at the weddings. Remember that wonderful fried chicken? But we were paid with an apron. So some of us here still have our aprons from the good old days when we served at those weddings. And of course, when I got married the first time to Frank Perpich, we had our reception at Slovenic for 300 people. So it was many happy memories, all those polka dances that we did. Oh, I love to polka. So, those are my happy memories.
How about if we hear from the Advantic family about the history of North Shore Savings and Trust. Where are you guys?
They're over there.
So I know it all started around the Slovenska Miza, because everything starts around the Slovenska Miza, right?
My name is Bill Aventak. I'm still vertical. I don't see as well as I used to. So if I didn't recognize some of you, please forgive me.
Hold it to your mouth.
Right? Okay. I heard Albina's name mentioned. I'm planning on going over to say hello to her. It's Albina Novak, isn't it, Albina?
Yes.
Zarsa. The Novak, I'm associated with the North Shore. Was there all my life. But it was Mr. Opika, which would have been Albina's father-in-law. That was probably the primary person behind North Shore Savings. Tony, of course, her husband, was on the board for quite a period of time. So, remember, of course, I'm Mother of God. One of the things, I don't know, particularly people from the Slovenic, like, for example, you had to be Slovenian. You not only had to be Slovenian, you had to be Slovenian coming out of the Vernica area. If you were not from the Vernica area, you were on nothing. My mother came from the Vernica area, and she came over, I think, in 1905. Met my dad here, but my dad came from Medlika, Chernomel. That's just down below Novo Mesto. So that would be in the Dolensk area. Now my father would not have been welcomed by Slovenia. He went from Vertica. He got in through my mother. So, but it was basically my grandfather. I'm told was here in 1888. He was here in 1888, and you talked about the American Steel and Wire. Before that, it was known as the Washburn Moan Works, and he came to he was in the Waukegan area, and through Joliet, and he went back to Slovenia in the Panic of 1893. Evidently, we had a real serious depression. So, make a long story short, he was the one that started sending his daughters over. My mother's name was Agnes. She married into the Bellick family. Her other sister was Frances. She married into all the Geronic family, you know well, from Waukegan. And the other sister was, oh my God. It'll come to me. But that's, like I said, we know the Slovenic well. It's got a tremendous history. Some of the history is rather sad. And there was a memory book that was put out in 1952, which was the 50th anniversary. And there were Mr. Brentz and Mr. Ganter wrote a tremendous history of the Slovenic from its very foundation, up to 1952. But they covered some of the sad events that maybe many of you don't know about it. It split families in half. Brothers didn't speak to brothers. It was a different time. I recommend that to you if you're looking for something on Slovene history. But that's about it.
So we have with us the Grum family, 5 generations, all out of the same house in North Chicago.
Whoa.
let's get one thing straight right now. And with all due respect there, young lady, it's Bellina, not Bocce Ball. And the Italians learned it from us. I have to apologize. It has been a very, very long time since the Grum family has been involved with this. And we celebrated a couple of things recently that started bringing back a whole lot of memories. And that was Dad turning 90 years old last week. And the birth of my great-grandson, who makes that their great-great-grandson. So 5 generations. So the big picture here is that we still got a great group of people together, and we're having a great time. And that's something that should never die. Over the years, I've learned how you carry those traditions on and on and on, and they keep on going, and that's what pulls us all together. And thank God for people like Leo Conkin, who I learned how to make sausage from, the Seapons on 10th Street, people like that just gave up that recipe, knew that you were interested in doing something like that. And the first time I ever met Mary was we were roasting a pig at the house on Green Bay Road that Dad still lives in North Chicago. Never left North Chicago his whole life. And Mary stopped to do a story on just what the hell are you doing? So we got to meet and we got to talk, and it's been a long time since I met Mary. And then when I realized she was involved in this whole thing, I said, we got to go to this. So that's how we ended up here. But Mary ended up living across the street from Dad's mom's brother, who was a Zoller. And Uncle John Zoller and his brother Louie and Grandma all came over, I don't know exactly what times from Yugoslavia. And Grandma snuck back a couple of times to go see who was still over there. And found, I remember the story of, she found Grandpa's brother laying in the street. And took care of him, gave him everything she had, got him back up on his feet, and then came home. And the reason that story stuck in my head, other than that, was that when she came home, she always used to sneak a couple of bottles of Slivovitz. And the guy that helped her with her bag at the airport dropped the bag and broke the bottle. So she's walking through the airport with everybody wondering, what in the heck is that smell? Naturally, Grandpa was very disappointed that he didn't get the second bottle of Slivovitz, but he made do with the one that he got. But those are special occasions too when we get together and we have that Slivovitz, we have that Zalutz, we have that Petitza, we have that hard-boiled egg, you know, and then Easter was a great time. So to the best of you, thanks for having us, and we'll try to stay in touch, and we hope that this keeps on going.
Gary Mahalik got in touch with Janelle, provided a lot of information and stories and photos, and outlines for the photos too, which we don't often get. So here's Gertrude.
I'm Gertrude Mahalik. I was married to Cozy, if any of you know Cozy. But I haven't been here in Illinois I came back 5 years ago. I lived in Arizona for 35 years. We moved out there because of my health. But when I moved out there, I was kind of lonesome for the old Slovenian stuff. Because I always had my records and I was dancing by myself in my house and stuff like that. And I just had to do something. And I belonged to KSKJ. So I decided to start a yearly picnic and gather all the people that were in the areas to come to these picnics. And they were all very successful. And even had the mayor of Fontana come over with his family and band, and we had a marvelous time with them. And so I was very busy with that. Never played Bellina, but I like to watch it. I was a bull runner golfer. That was my big thing. But as far as the Slovenes, I've been to Slovenia 4 times. Because I always had my records and I was dancing by myself in my house and stuff like that. And I just had to do something. And I belong to KSKJ. So I decided to start a yearly picnic and gather all the people that were in the areas to come to these picnics. And they were all very successful. And even had the mayor of Fontana come over with his family and band, and we had a marvelous time with them. And so I was very busy with that. I never played Ballina, but I like to watch it. I was a bull runner golfer. That was my big thing. But as far as the Slovenes, I've been to Slovenia 4 times. I have a lot of people in Slovenia. In fact, my cousin was the Prime Minister of Slovenia, Janez Janša. I was very proud, and I'm very proud of the Janša name, which was my mother's maiden name. Their family goes way back. They were honey people. That was their big name to fame. I never was able to speak Slovenian, even though we were forced to take it in school. And I said, no, I'm American, I'm not taking Slovenian. And I would never learn it. And now I'm trying to learn it, and I can't get my act together. I wrote a letter to my cousins one time, and underneath one line I would write in Slovenian what I thought was Slovenian. And the next line was what I had said in English. And when they got that letter, and I went to visit them this one time after that letter, and they said to me, what was that all about? Because they couldn't figure it out from Adam. Even my English wasn't good. And at that time, the first time I went there, they didn't speak English. But then the next times after I was there, they all spoke English. But, and I still can't speak Slovenian. I can't enunciate properly. My tongue gets tied.
You can read it.
I can read it, and I can understand it, but I just cannot seem to get the, thing in my head. But anyway, I lived right by Slovenic. And Slovenic was a big thing. I lived on Wadsworth Avenue. I lived right in the block of the church. And in our time, when I was a kid, we were not allowed to go over to Slovenic. And we couldn't even walk on the street next to Slovenic. We were not allowed to do this. And I remember I couldn't understand it because I was a kid, and in those days, nothing was told to you, as to what's going on. It was none of your business because you were a child. And you were never included in any kind of conversation in the household. A child would always have to go to the other room. I remember when my mother sewed as a way of living, getting money, during the time when we were growing up, and she would always close the kitchen door when the ladies were in the kitchen and with their sewing stuff. So I never knew anything. But anyway, it was kind of sad because I had friends that belonged there. And I couldn't even communicate with them because of the fact that we had this sort of separation. And like Bill said about that book, you should read that because then you understand a little bit more about Slovenic. Because it's not just they started a place. There was more to it than just that. So you should read that book. But as far as I'm concerned, I've never belonged to SMPJ, but I love all the people that are associated with it because they're all good people. And they've always been nice to me, and I can't say anything too much more about it, because what else is there to say, but they're good people. And God bless them all. Okay?
Hi, I'm Bruce London. I just have one story real quick. When I was a child, I used to be a little daydreamer. I used to love thunderstorms. So I was in my bedroom one night on Wadsworth Avenue watching this thunderstorm. And there was this giant lightning bolt, this huge thunder. And the next day I went up to the church and the steeple was all destroyed. So I saw it. I saw the thunderbolt that destroyed our steeple. So that's my claim to fame. So. Thank you.
How about Jane, Gregory, and Benham?
You know, my heart goes out to all the people who came together to plan this event. I don't know who started it, I don't know where the seed was planted, but I'm grateful because I have an opportunity to say thank you to not only them for this beautiful event, but thank you and God bless those immigrants who came through Ellis Island. I know all of us sitting here have either had a grandma, a grandpa, or a spouse come through, I'm sure, back then. And the stories that were told are heart-wrenching. How they came with just a suitcase or a pillowcase stuffed with what little they could bring from Slovenia, and the coat on their back with loose change in the pocket, and not even being able to speak English is beyond my comprehension. And then to settle in a foreign land, to go with their picks and shovels and build a brick building that still stands to this day is just beyond me. How hard those immigrants worked so that each of us sitting here today can celebrate their legacy. I just want to say God bless to all of them. God bless the committee for organizing this. And you know, one memory that I have that stands out was the name Chicken Town. Wasn't that something how 10th Street was called Chicken Town? Because they came here, they built their homes, and they raised chickens all over the place. Grandma said it was like one big farm going all the way down 10th Street because all you heard was the clucking of the chickens as you walked up and down the streets. Wasn't that something? And then to think that in those days, they had weddings and banquets that lasted till 3 o'clock in the morning. Did you ever hear of a riot breaking out or mob action or police having to go to break them up? Oh no, they just sang the louder. The harmony got better, the more beers and the whiskey that they drank. Grandma said you'd hear them singing all the way down 10th Street when they came home. And no one got a ticket or got in trouble. Grandma probably said, "Wooty to grandpa when you walk in the door, be quiet. That's enough, just go to bed." But you know what? Weren't they great people that all of us sitting here this afternoon can be proud of? And we hope that those of us sitting here can pass that same pride, that same Slovenian pride off to the younger ones that are coming up. To stay the course, be determined, work hard, and don't give up. Thank you.
Well, you could have been talking about my parents. It's going to be a tough act to follow, so I don't know if you saw or knew that Father Merrill snuck in. So let's hear a little from Father Merrill.
You know how shy I am. I think there's lots of us here are not Slovenian by birth, and we ask forgiveness for that. But we've sort of been adopted by the Slovenian community because of the times we spent together and the work of the church and how our lives have intersected over these years with myself, it's over 25 years, right, or more. And the thing that's always been really important to me is faith. The faith that you've shared with all of us to make our faith even stronger, and the great fraternity that you have always shared together. And that, I think, is a real blessing. I remember years ago meeting Bill Ivantik and all the great people who have really made this community great. So I'm thrilled to be here. My only regret is that Father Edmund couldn't be here today. I think we all owe so much to Father Al in one way or another. So we need to remember and pray for him. I guess he couldn't come because he's working. At almost 100, that's great. So you're strong, Scott. But thank you all for sharing with those of us who have not been born in the same culture, but your culture is now our culture. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm a spouse of Bob Grandpovnik. Bob and I will be married 46 years next Sunday. Well, when we were planning the wedding, Bob wanted it at Slovenic Hall. So we go to Slovenic Hall, and they said, how many people are you going to be having? I said, over 500. So they said, we can't accommodate you. So we had 650 people at our wedding. As I tell people, my dad invited everybody except the garbage man.
Unbelievable.
Yes. Yes. Awesome. Want to say something?
Why don't you want to say anything?
Yes, you can.
I talk about Belina. I used to hang out there back in the day. And we got to know the bartender pretty well. And once in a while, he didn't let us get the Belina balls from back of the bar in a potato sack and go and play Belina. And I could remember a few of the words. Correct me if I'm wrong for those that speak Slovenian. One was udriga, which I understand was blast the ball away from the burley so that you could score a point. And the other one was Jaka Madonna. And from what I understand, that means Jesus Christ. Also, we got to know the janitor that was there, and he asked a few of us fellas to help him set the tables and chairs for the weddings. And then, of course, break them down when the polka started. And the best part of that whole job, we got paid a little bit, but we also got a free wedding meal. So that was great for a year or two.
I remember that from the hood. Bob's dad lived to be almost 102. He's in some of the photos here. He received his diploma from Waukegan High School at his 100th birthday. He had to quit school when he was in 6th grade to work at the bowling alley where Bueller's used to be, something like that. And he was thrilled to tears to receive his high school diploma. Imagine that. So here we have the Kilkellys.
Robertson. Okay, I'm going to pass it on to a Robertson. And Janet?
I am very proud to be a Robertson. I always have been. My sister and brother and I, we did have one problem. When I was confirmed, I had been going to that church for a number of years. He couldn't pronounce my name. So being from Waukegan, again, is something that I I'm proud of, and wherever I have gone. I volunteered at a hospital. People would come in with unusual names. They would all come to me because I could pronounce them. People from other areas don't have a clue as to how to pronounce ethnic names. But my sister and I were very proud of our dad. He was probably one of the funniest people I have ever known. He and his brother Frank came over to this country when I believe my Uncle Frank was 6 and my dad was 4. And grew up on McAllister on 10th Street.
849.
Yeah, 849 McAllister. But my sister and I, as we grew older, we would walk down 10th Street and we would smile at everybody. Because with my uncle and my dad's reputation, you never knew who you were related to.
How about Joe? Now, Joe is, probably all of you know, is an architect, and he probably knows a lot of builders. So just think if we had a little place of our own, we could have pizza making lessons, apple strudel making lessons, have a bar, our own bar. Sleevo.
Well, Bill Ivantek spoke earlier, and I don't know if you're all aware of it, but the role that North Shore Trust and Savings played in the culture of all these Slovenians is extremely important. They provided loans for all of you folks to build homes. John Zoller was the first president of North Shore Trust and Savings. It was called Building and Loan at the time. It was a relative. In fact, I remember in high school he gave me a 1938 Chevy with a rumble seat, which was a hot car in high school. Bill Ivantek's father was the second president. Bill was the third, and we have Tom Ivantek here, who's on the board. However, he's made some gigantic strides, and he's a retired United Airlines captain, and we're all very proud of him. And so, Tom, I bet you've got some stories of North Shore Trust and Savings. You go ahead. There you go.
It's strange to be talking about North Shore Trust. When I was a little boy, I remember cleaning the floors of that place, and it's kind of in my blood, I guess you'd say. And I didn't really realize it then that it was the heart of the Slovenian community. I just didn't take it in. Today, I sure as heck do. And it was a wonderful institution. And every time we see Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life, I think of my father, because he was Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life. And I mean to tell you, there are so many parallels to what happened in that movie, and you know, the Bailey Savings and Loan, building and loan, and so on, and to everybody here that had shares within North Shore Building and Loan, thank you very much for being wonderful customers. I know I still am.
Come on, raise your hand. How about Stan Pico? I'll bet he has a lot of history. Mr. Chambernick, I know he is not a shy Slovenian.
Help. Give it to Stan. Stan, give a good one up there.
Talk about your dancing.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
Okay, Stan, you're up.
My name is Stanley Pico, and I'm one of the first generations that my parents brought. And I was born in 1927, 91 years old, still hanging in there. But anyway, with Slovenic Home, being involved with it for a number of years, it reminds me of some parties that we had there, particularly New Year's Eve. And I remember this one here, which was only one of them, was we would go up into the attic, put a couple holes in the metal paneling up there, and put some strings through there, to hold up a net, of which we filled with balloons and so forth. And at midnight, we cut the strings, and they'd come fluttering down, and everybody, and in that, we also put in a few balloons a tag for a free drink. Everybody was crawling all over the place trying to find it. It was kind of funny in that respect. But another interesting one was, I'm not sure what year, probably in the late 70s or early 80s, someone rented the dance floor on the second deck of the facility there. And when we found out who it was, we had police driving around the block, round and round, all afternoon, and it was the Black Panthers. But I do remember sitting on the steps there with one of them, and he was very pleasant. And they didn't cause any problems, except they cost the city money for all the cars to keep circling the blocks there. And that was one kind of an interesting thing. And of course another one was I got married at Mother God Church, and we had the party at Slovenic Home in the lower level, which was the smaller one. And we had a good time. We had a nice wedding, but the whole area was a lot of good people living there and enjoying each other. And we had, I can't name them all, but a number of them that were near where I lived on Utica Street. I don't know if you know, you know them?
By our grandmother next door. Grandma.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. So anyway, we lived there for, gosh, I don't know, until I was, until I was married, but prior to that, we lived there on 848, I remember the address. And we enjoyed the area. We had the Hodnicks in that area, which were across the street, and Zybers and a number of others. And so it was really a pleasant way of growing up. Of course, we got into a little trouble from time to time, but, particularly on, not Valentine's Day. Halloween, when we would get tomatoes and throw them at the porch steps, and people would get mad at us, they're dirty our porch and everything. But all in all, it was a great time to grow up. And I think the people that grew up in that area all were good, successful people. And that's what the country is about, and what we are, and hopefully our children come up as we were, perhaps better, more educated for one thing. But I could not speak English until we started going to, there was no kindergarten at that time, it was just first grade. And we started picking it up then. There was no teachers there helping us or guiding us in any way. And that was part of the life, and I think it was an excellent way to learn the language and making friends with people that helped you, learning the language. And as time passed, all I can say is we did great. All you folks that are here now have done great. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are a millionaire or a billionaire, but you're great people. You're equal to them, and more in many cases, than those that got the money. And there's other stories, but I don't want to carry on with this. I think there's some other people who would like to.
Sister Kathleen Poppet.
Wow. I'm Sister Kathleen Poppet, Kern Poppet. Many of you might remember my Uncle Khaki Kern. We grew up on 10th Street, went to Mother of God. I attribute my faith to my family, to our culture, our traditions. There are a number of people who now are serving in different areas because of the way we were brought up. We help each other, we stick together. And so I can't say enough about how grateful I am to God, to my family, to my heritage. Certainly my Grandma Kern was a bulwark in our family. She was the strong woman that I looked up to. 10 children, 4 died. Kaki's mom, Uncle Jack, Uncle Iggy, Aunt Frances Ogren, and Helen Drashler, Pat's here. And they were people that I looked up to, and I hope our children can look up to us and see the faith and the support that we had in us. So yeah, I'm grateful. Thank you.
Pat Dressler.
Nice to be here. Nice to see everybody here. I haven't seen you in a long time. And okay, is that better? Yes. And I grew up on 10th Street. My mother and father had a tavern, one of about 30 taverns on 10th Street. And it was a very nice family affair. We had a good time. We had a neighbor. I'll tell you about Mrs. Taylor. I don't know if you ever heard of her, but she used to call me Bessie. She used to call me Bessie. And we used to steal her apples and run down the alley. And we had a great neighborhood, the Novaks and Stupars, and a lot of people lived there with me. And it was just a great time. It was great to see everybody. Thank you.
Someone just asked me who's our most senior person, smartest, most memories here. So, we have 93. Janelle just stood up, you're not that old. Is 93 our most senior Slovenian here? Going once, going twice. Take a bow. Oh, congratulations from Waukegan Salon. How about the most senior gentleman? 93? What's the big number? Okay, do the math for me.
93.
93. Another gift from Slovenian Janelle, Waukegan Salon, who wants to give back because
That's good. That's for your faith.
for all the goodness she's received. Okay, here we go.
Oh, sorry.
I thought you wanted to talk. You had your hand up. What, just for the present? What's your name? Bill Roadway. Where did you live? Where did you live? What street in North Chicago? Okay, where's that?
Park Avenue.
Oh, Park Avenue, okay. Okay, So he's a Herboy from the Herboy Builders, so why don't you get together with Joe Leggett
And build us that building.
and build us another place. All right, anybody else?
You mentioned about the taverns. My dad had, my grandfather, my father, Anton Scavars, had the tavern, Tony's Tavern, on 10th and Jackson. And I grew up on the second floor for the first 5 years. And it was just, I wish I could remember those memories. But I have pictures at home that I never thought about bringing. Outside, sitting on the benches, and how those 30 taverns, you know, I don't know how the men progressed all the time. They made it, too. But it was very good memories. Proud to be a Slovenian.
All right, anybody else? Come on, you guys want to go home or do you want to keep talking? How about Mary Lou? Mary Lou hasn't said anything about her family.
No, I don't really have a lot of memories like you all do because I'm on the other, kind of on the closing end of Slovenic. My memories are kind of vague, but the one thing I will always remember is when you walked in the bar area, they had a wooden phone booth. They had the bifold door. Remember that? That's about the only thing I can remember from Slovenic. That, run around the halls, and the powder they put on the floor, the dance floor, the sawdust or whatever it was. So that's the extent of my memories. But when I was thanking people earlier today, I forgot to thank our musician. Ed Hodnick was here, and he so graciously entertained us. And he'll probably play again before you all leave. So I'd like to thank you all for coming. And if you did fill out your slip, we'll gladly keep in touch. And if you still have some, we'll pick them up. So thank you again, and see you next year. Thank you.
For those of you that don't know, Chandra has a historic bus tour annually. So we were hoping that she may put together a bus tour before next year's event. So the bus would leave from here, tour the south side to reminisce, and then come back here and we'd have dinner. So if you like that idea, let us know.
Thank you.
We think Slovenic Hall should be on the Waukegan Historic Preservation List. And I think that it preserves the whole immigration history, not just Slovenes, but it represents one of the last buildings, or the only building that represents all the culture that they did, athletic abilities, all of it. So I really think that somebody needs, a lot of people need to nominate it, and I can make sure that the form gets filled out correctly to pass. So let's do it.
Absolutely.
I second that.
Okay. All right, this will be much better.
Is this the Slovenian flag? Did I just pick the right one? That was the Slovenian flag right there.
Matt Kern's grandpa.
Smile and look at me, ladies.
Are those your dance tickets?
Got it.
I got one.
2, 3.
One more just in case. There we go.
When I hear about all these names and how everybody's intertwined, there must have been a lot of ladders by the window. Yeah, we got it. Because everybody's related.
Yeah.
Tony's got movies. He's got pictures.
I have stills too.
I was hoping you would be here.
That's